Okay, check. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if this time it records. Apparently, it was on mute for some reason, or that, or for some strange reason, Spirit Realm didn't want the audio on the last one to be playing. To the one person that's watching, more AWC7, how's it going, brother? Can you hear me? It's a thumbs up. I hope that's the reason. Um, yeah, we're going to be talking about going deeper into the mystical, mysterious, spiritual realm of the trees. We have the green man, the tree man, the man of the forest. There's more to meets the eye. They don't tell us that. Thank you for letting me know. It's good. A lot more than meets the eye. All praise to the Most High, the Creator God, Heavenly Father. All praise to you. Help us to understand your creation in its fullest. And check this out. So, where are we at with all this? Let's go back to this image here. Check out this image. I hijacked that from the Higher Side chat, the show we did. The tree. The tree is like the neurons, the nervous system of this creation we call the earth, the world, in which it extends into the ether and down into the elemental inner underworld. That's basically the elemental underworld. Okay, you notice there it has the moon cycles, or the phases of the moon, and those phases of the moons are also shared by, ironically, the Venus. Notice the little balls are supposed to be like clouds. Are they really? Nah, they're not. Hey, how's it going, Judy? Thank you for joining. Thank you. This should be an interesting show. So once again, the trees are the neurons. They're the highway from the underworld, right? The roots they go all the way down to the water table, right? Throughout all the soil and all that, and then there's the trunk, right? This is the middle world, and then the upper world that extends into the ether, into the sky. It's interesting about this. When you think about it, those who believe in Jesus, he was hung supposedly on a cross made of wood, right? Or a tree. Think about that in deeper terms. Think about that in deeper terms. Not in religious terms, but in deeper terms. And where do I go with this? So let's go. We're going to go backwards a little bit. In this image, I know it's going to be hard to see, but let's try the best we can here to make this work. In this is a bishop, or something that looks like a bishop, like a Roman Catholic bishop, maybe, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Or maybe it was different. It's true that in Catholicism, they stole a lot of other people's ideas, but there actually is a mitre right here. And I'm not knocking Roman Catholics, but the truth is the truth. And what they did, a lot of times they took the ideas of other cultures and combined it, right? to make their imperial religion. It's ironic when you think about it. Hey, Sheldon, how's it going? Can you hear me now? I'm so sorry about the last recording. It was fantastic. In my book, in my book, for whatever it's worth, in my book, it was fantastic. The audio of wasn't, but the message was quite clear. And the message is, first of all, is that we're dealing with interdimensional beings. Now, I know it's extremely hard to see this, isn't it? And I apologize, but I can see as clear as day that there is some things that look like well, it looks like it's wearing a hot mitre hat or something similar to that. Let's just don't assume that it's Roman Catholic. There are other cultures that had very similar hats. What's interesting about the mitre hat is that it's cone shaped. Think about that. Now, some people say that it has something to do with the Nephilim. Maybe so. Some people say it has to do with Dagon. Maybe so. Or could there also be possibly the idea that these guys, what we call Roman Catholic bishops, who accuse everybody else of being part of a pagan religion when they themselves were part of a pagan religion? It's funny how the whole world works, right? And the funny thing is this, is that, where are we at with all this? Oh, there we go. It's like an antenna. It reaches for the sky and into the earth. It is. It's like the highway for the spirit realm. And when you think about it, a tree is a sentient being. It is a living being. It's a living entity. We don't define them as animals, do we? We call them trees. Some people say they're part of the plant world. Maybe so. But there's also a lot more going on in the tree, and that's what we're going to talk about again today. I hope you guys get something out of it. I thank you for all you just showing up this time, and hope you stick around. I know people don't want to hear this for the most part. Unfortunately. But if we're going to be serious about doing our research when it comes to this area, whether it's the paranormal or not. What's up, Damien? Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you, bro. So yeah, so in this image is some people, but I label it a fallen bishop. I've filmed so many things that look just like monks, that look just like Roman Catholic priests. And it's really interesting. And I'm not telling you what to do, and I'm not telling you what religion to belong to or anything like that, because I'd be the first one to tell you don't belong to any religion. I mean that. But there it is, and there it is. And the reason why I say don't belong to any religion, because they're all snares that trap your soul. It's interesting they have this thing they call parishes. I'm not trying to get religious on you. I'm just telling you what it is. And it's funny, there's this phrase that everybody uses, he calls himself a Christian, and that is God, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Whosoever believe in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And isn't it interesting that in these institutions, they have parishes? Well, I wonder why they call them parishes. I mean, you have other things too. But if you can look real closely, and I know it's going to be extremely difficult, and I apologize, but there is a mitre. And you can see the back side of it. It's like a shadow. And you can see the face. He's got like wrinkles and stuff. He's got a nose right there. And of course, the branches everywhere there. He's like stuck in a tree. Now, he's stuck in a tree with other things that are stuck in a tree. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that there was other people who and other institutions that wore miters, right? And the mitre is the representation of something. I truly, I think it was Sheldon who brought up Oh, he's bringing up now, basically the elongated skulls, Nephilim. Maybe that's what's really going on here. Maybe they're honoring the Nephilim or some kind of spirit being, right? But here's the thing: this thing is stuck in this tree. Jesus was crucified on a tree. It literally was, and so, and not only that, the same institution called the Roman institution just glorifies it now, day in and day out. Hey, he died on a tree. We are the ones that, of course, they blame, um, the Jews at that time. But the Jews, in their laws, they had a legal right, and they were allowed to, if you were breaking the law, breaking the law, guess what? They could stone you to death. So they didn't need the crucifixion. And they spent all this time in 2,000 years and glorifying and going over and over again how they hung a guy on a tree. Now, we're going to find out some stuff about what goes on in the tree. And you know what? There's people inside the trees. Now, is there a possibility in the other realms that somehow, some way, some of us are, maybe if we don't do the right rituals and whatever it is that's necessary, maybe, I don't know. Who knows what the cause is? Unfortunately, a lot of this knowledge that was taken away from us are hidden in the inner circles of the different mystery schools that exist. You see, all cultures had their inner circle of shamans and priests and the oligarchs and elite that held on to the knowledge. It's not my opinion. It is what is, and it's still going on today. Yeah, give me some likes. I am the most unlikable dude there is, man. So give me some likes. So, anyways, it seems to be that way. Everyone else gets more likes than I do and more views, but who knows? So I've heard everything from I don't have the right length of videos for people. They're either too long or too short or this or that or the other. But I think it's really the topic. The topic's kind of disturbing. Let's be honest. It is a bit disturbing. You know what I mean? It's not like the greatest thing to know that you have a spirit that's manifesting out of this tree in my neighbor's yard, and it looks like, something that's wearing, it looks like a miner's hat. Let's go back to this a little bit, because it doesn't necessarily mean anything to do with Roman Catholicism, although it could do. I'm totally anti-religion at this point. And I really do believe that the priestcraft of our day and for hundreds of years have been deceiving us and lying to us. In fact, I'm totally convinced at this point we've been lied to about every dang thing that there is. And that if you want to know the truth about anything at this point, you're going to have to, first thing, what I did. I'm not sure what that means. But hopefully get out of religion. That'd be the smartest thing to do. Go find God. Let God lead him to you, or lead you to him. Excuse me, instead of having somebody else play the role. Anyways, there is much going on in this tree, and it's true. And what I'm going to show with you. Once again, that I failed the last recording. We're going to go back, try it again, this time with audio, and look at what is going on in the trees. Here's a little thing before going for it. We see these tree structures constantly being built, right, throughout the where it doesn't matter. It's anywhere, pretty much in the northern hemisphere, all throughout Eurasia and the United States and North America. And, it's interesting that they all shared similar things way back when, not too far ago. You see these? You see what I see? Do you see what I see? Can you see a similarity? I'm at the point where I believe that a lot of what's going on is not Bigfoot. We're dealing with something that's much, 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 much more complicated and much, much, much more interesting than just simply Sasquatch. Not to say Sasquatch is not interesting. I'm just saying. And I think there's a lot of spirits. You know, many of the indigenous cultures throughout the world, they had practices. There were certain times of the year in which they would have the souls released to the dead, right? And they would have ceremonies, and they were concerned about something. Now, hey Leon, how's it going? So, yeah, what they're concerned about. What they're concerned about is their soul being trapped here in the lower realm and the middle realm, and that they wanted to get out of this and get to the pleroma, up in beyond, from the stars and beyond, and not be trapped in this matrix. Okay. Now, barbecue. I have a phone call. Okay, we'll come back as soon as possible, Sheldon. If you hear this. I'm spiritually connected, no religion here. Thank goodness, Judy. Thank goodness for you. I'm be so honest. I have to say, I'm a dude that spent an enormous amount of time studying the Bible in the past 10 years. I can walk over most, I'm sure, in a debate with the Pope himself, I would put him to shame. Saying that doesn't say much, to be honest with you, because the difference is between one person and another is how honest you are about the readings and what's inside it. Most people use religion as a way to escape from reality instead of understanding and going to a greater depths of purpose and meaning and why we're here, right? But anyways, go back to these tree structures real fast. You notice a lot of these tree structures look a lot like this. And I am arguing that a lot of what we're seeing is our own ancestral spirits still reenacting that stuff, who are in the trees that are stuck in the lower and middle realm. You'll never hear this from any other Bigfoot channel, will you? And they'll say, "Oh, nobody's an expert." Well, all you have to do is start opening up your eyes, and you'll start seeing things. You'll start recognizing things and patterns. And you really don't need me. Once I point this out, you'll be well on your way. One thing I want to say is a lot of these things, they look freaky and scary and all that, but remember, they don't own you, or they're not a part unless you allow them to know you. And these things have always been in the trees. Isn't it interesting right here? This guy right here. Do you notice as they make a film and the film about Indians and they put all these trees there, what the hell just manifests right there, man? Can you see that? Now, I'm not making it up. I just saw it too, by the way. And they'll say it's pareidolia, but that ain't pareidolia. You got those big old eyes right there. You see that? And you see that? You even got a big old mouth. You even got a big old nose. Remember we saw earlier, we saw the images of the tree man, the man of the forest, the green man. Hey, thank goodness you're back, Sheldon. I do appreciate you being here. I wish more people would stick it out. But there it is, and people will try to tell you all day long that it's pareidolia, but it's not pareidolia, and it does have something to do with the ground and with the trees. I do believe strongly that what we're really dealing with, for the most part, is human spirits in the forest, not just Bigfoot. Human, our own ancestors, whether indigenous, population here, or those of us, who are mixed blood and have our ancestors all over the place, including Great Britain and the mainland there and Europe. Our ancestors were doing this stuff, and they're having rituals and ceremonies and doing all sorts of these long trees, and they were the ones that were stripping all the branches down and making totems and teepees and all that kind of stuff. And guess what? It's still going on to this day. Some of them, some would argue, if you were Christian or something like that, and you were, it's all because they're pagans, and it's because of rituals and all that, and because they're worshiping false gods, and they're trapped. They're in hell, right? But when we look at hell and what and purgatory, and what it is, really. It doesn't fit with the scriptures, and it doesn't give us very much. It just says, if you don't believe in this certain thing, right, or a certain person, then you're all going to this place in the underworld, right? It's hard for me to believe that the shamans and Native Americans um, didn't believe in the Creator God either, right? Now, a lot of people try to say, oh, it's because they don't believe in Jesus, therefore they're all, listen, I used to say that. I used to say all these things were demons 6 years ago. I couldn't even handle it. But as time's gone on, and I've done my serious, my research, and I've been doing my due diligence in my research and studying things and trying to understand what's really going on. I'm realizing that this is not even possible in this dualistic world. There's good, bad. There's the night and day. You're right. There's darkness and light. It's our pleasure to say, now we will learn from Mike. Thanks, Damien. So listen, what is really going on here? It's multiple facets. And when I say that, it's not just all human spirits here. There's multiple spirits that traverse the upper, the middle, and the lower realms, worlds. What do they use? Well, as an energetic, kind of let's think about it like say you're on an electric train and you had to go from point A to point B. If there's no electricity, you're not going from point A to point B. But with a tree and the amount of EMFs and electromagnetism that's involved, yes, you can. You can. In spirit realm, go from this place to this place to this place. In fact, multiple spirits, many of our ancestors included, along with things that look like Sasquatch and Bigfoot, they're still doing it to this day. It's interesting. The Gnostic Christians, they had the whole idea of the pleroma, right? It's the outside here, this area. The goal is to get there. It's not to stay here. It's not to stay here ruled by the cycles of the moon. It's to get past there, to at least get to the point where you're ruled by the cycles of Venus again. Now, listen, I'm not a New Ager. I'm not a witch. I'm not even a Christian anymore, though I believe in Jesus. I believe he was real. Can't stomach Christianity anymore. Can't the amount of lies, it turns you so much into. If you get religious like that, you will become the deceiver deceiving. You have no idea the spell that's been cast upon us all. And I'm dead serious about this. So when you go around condemning people and saying if they don't do this or they don't believe this, then they're going to hell, all you're doing is perpetuating something, a spell, a lie, a place where I'm finding, of all things, guys or entities, spirits that look like Roman Catholic bishops and monks and priests. I'm just saying that I'm not trying to be a jerk about that. This is what I'm finding. I think you need to be a little more deeper about all this stuff. We all need to be a little more deeper about this stuff. So what is going on here is these trees are the highway. They are the nervous system in this physical realm, which connects the multiple dimensions, even the ultra dimensions. When these things are able to manifest in the flesh, it's plasmic. Now, there's solids, liquids, gas, and plasma. Hear me out. We have now, in the past, I would say, past decade, many of a physicist has come to the conclusion that there is living, sentient plasma. That means their life, this life, intelligent life, was in that substance and that called plasma. You can't see Sheldon's comments? I don't see any comments. There's a comment from Sheldon. Can you see that one? We can't let our education get in the way. Well, education is a form of mind control. That's all it is. It's indoctrination. 90% of everything I learned from kindergarten to university was worthless, gibberish, nonsense. I'm going to tell you something. I just want to tell you. It is called indoctrination. It's called propaganda, mind control. It's to steer the masses, the school. You're schooling like a bunch of fish into the direction that the high priests of our day want you to be part of or follow. They don't want you to know about this stuff. If they wanted you to know about this stuff, Michael Adams wouldn't be the one teaching you this. You know what? All the big shots in the Bigfoot world and the paranormal world and everyone else would be telling you this. They're not telling you this. You know why they're not telling you this? Because they all think this is horse shit because of their indoctrination. But the problem is, for thousands of years, these people weren't following nonsense. We are the ones following nonsense at this point, and we have to come to terms with it. That's all we have to do. Start educating ourselves, and let's see. Tell things in data. And they tell you, I know they say it's paranormal. It's all woo and it's all paranormal. Listen, they interacted with these things. They knew that there was life in these trees. They knew that many of their elders and ancestors were in there. There was actually rites and rituals back then in which there were groups of people who wanted to stay here and be part of the underworld and the middle world for whatever reason. Maybe they felt like they could help. Maybe they were just lost. Maybe. But you know what? I can tell you one thing: the religion ain't going to tell you the truth about it because they don't want you to know the truth about it. Because they know if you knew, remember, Jesus was crucified on a cross on a tree. Now think about what I'm saying. What stuff I'm going to be sharing with you. The images are going to be sharing with you, and rethink everything that you saw on television and in the movies and everything else because there's much more going on here, and life is a hell of a lot more interesting if you let it be so. So, what we're dealing with is multiple entities, multiple spirits. It's not just Bigfoot. No, I'm telling you this not because I'm trying to be a jerk. I'm just trying to tell you what is real. That's all I'm trying to tell you. If you watched last night's show and you persevered long enough, you would have seen that there was. I even showed an entity, a woman with big feet. We don't see these things when they're moving around in the night because that's their realm. It's not our realm. I'll go back real fast to this. So this is what my buddy Jared over there at Sasquatch Confessions. He filmed him and his buddies, and this looks an awful lot like a dog man. Now, mind you, it's not a very big dog man. It's maybe about 4 or 5 feet tall at max. Maybe a small juvenile dog man. Couldn't see it, right? Could not see it at all. Notice that it's very, very, very black and very dark, and it's hard to see because it's a spirit. And notice another thing, it's connected to what? A tree. You'll see a lot of these ones connected to trees. You'll see a lot of these connected to the, like trees were falling down. Fascinating. The root balls, right? All that energy that's still in those root balls, they use that to manifest and to charge up, right? And you'll see tons of them there. You'll see tons of them there when you open your eyes. But you're going to have to use the technology today. Unless, I imagine there's some that are so connected with reality, they can walk out and they can see the spirits right there in the trees, and they can deal with it because, let's be honest, because of horror movies and because of television and just indoctrination and brainwashing. We look at these things and they're frightening, they're scary, and they're monsters. They're monsters, right? They look like monsters because we were told they were because they're monsters. Yet our ancestors interacted with these things. I'm going to tell you something. This stuff gets so deep. It gets truly, truly, truly deep, and you just can't just pretend there's nothing. So there's a reason for all this in this imagery. And this imagery, by the way, is on very important public buildings throughout the world. This tree. Let's see if we can get to this. We'll get to there. We will get to the images. I guarantee you. There's some of the images right there. See that? This is what I just filmed. Bigfoot. There's a woman in black. Women there. There's a guy, man. Anyways, we'll get to all that stuff again. So this tree, right? This is called the palpa tree, or the baobab tree. This is the oldest and most embraced sacred tree in the whole world. You know, in India, and there's I think there's only like 10 left. In fact, in the United States, I think we have doubled that number in the United States of this tree. This tree is very sacred in Africa. You know, people come from all over the place, and they meditate, and they touch this tree, and they drink the water of this tree for many reasons. This tree lives 5,000 years. At least that's how much we know. This is, you know, we hear about the Joshua tree out southwest, right? This tree is just it outlives all that. And you're like, well, what's the big deal about a tree? Well, remember, trees are everything. They really are everything in this whole answer. These are living sentient beings. There you go. You got it right. The baobab tree. And then in India, they talk about it. Yes, the baobab tree. Highway 1 in the United States that goes right into California or Florida, where it's like, you know, you heard of the Hollywood tree, right? And they say it's from the Hollywood is from a holly. Now, I hate to say this about Jordan Maxwell, but he was not straight with you guys and a lot of things. He got us thinking, though, but he wasn't straight about things. He kept on telling us that the holly that holly part comes from the holly branch of the holly, because what magicians used, right? This is the holy Hollywood. This tree right here throughout the world was where the elites go and have ceremonies and rituals to this day. And I'm not just talking about a few people here and there. I'm talking about all the big shots, whether it's in the World Economic Forum, where it's coming out of the Vatican, whether it's the monarchies of Western Europe, or whether it's in India or is in China or in the United States in particular, they go to this place. Now, this tree is an amazing tree. This tree can feed a tribe, a village, in times of drought, in times of shortage of food, all year round. The amount of water that this tree sucks up is shocking. And you know what they do in Africa? They drill holes in there, and they have basically a public drinking, like a water fountain, or not fountain. What do they call it? You know, where you get your water. And I'm not kidding. This tree is just sucks up so much energy and the life force, and it's everywhere. There's an India, right? If you pay attention to images in this tree, you'll see some spirits, guarantee, and some big spirits. And in India, they talk about this and how, isn't this interesting? They talk about the family tree. Think what I'm saying. They talk about a family tree. They talk about family tree. You know, how many generations? Devil Towers. Yeah. I mean, they used to have massive trees. Listen, 100 years ago, there's in the United States, there were still massive trees. Not the size of Devil's Tower, but still, we're talking. We're not just talking about the redwoods in California. Florida had some massive trees too. Did you know that? In fact, they had some of the largest trees in the world. Maybe not as big as the ones in California, but it's still damn big. And they talk about a family tree. Jesus was crucified on a tree. A tree is such an important thing. It's part of creation. It's part, and we are so disconnected from it. The closest thing that most of us are going to deal with when it comes to a tree is the table that we eat off, the chair that we sit on. Right? That's the closest thing that most of us are going to do with anything with a tree. But yet our elders, they honored and reverenced these trees, especially huge trees. One of the secrets in all this of filming these things and having interactions is you got to make sure you're around older trees, larger trees. The older and the larger, the greater the highway and the greater the EMF and the greater of the plasmic discharge that can happen. Yeah. How about that one? Did you hear that one in your Bigfoot research community? You say, "Oh, Mike, you're just acting like you know everything." I don't know hardly anything. But you know what? What I do know is what I do know. And I'm more than well. I encourage you to disprove me wrong, because you know why? You're going to become knowledgeable of the truth of something, and you can deal with it. Because I'm going to tell you something. There's an influence that's going on in all of us through this, and because of these being around us. So yeah, it's just like a well, and there's life in it. And the tree is just like humans. It's 78% water. And it provides shelter for mankind. It provides energy for mankind. Some argue that even the coal itself comes from ancient trees, or maybe it was something else. They say, here's all sorts of things that they say we don't, So I guess we do know, right? The coal deposits throughout the world are ancient trees, large ancient trees that were buried in a major cataclysmic event. Here's a thing to think about too. You're talking about these Indian mounds, and if anybody believes that the Indian mounds, they all spent all this time and energy to bury what was under it and all this dirt after whoever made it spent all that time making it. I would have to argue and say that you're pretty, I got some oceanfront property to sell to you in Arizona. Guaranteed. You know why those are mounds? I'm going to give you a little secret. Because something cataclysmic happened in the past 6,000 years that put a huge layer of soil and mud over them. I'm going to guarantee you, people weren't going to, well, what are we going to do today? Well, we got to make sure the slaves do something. What are we going to do? Oh, I tell you what, let's cover those ziggurats. But it was not just North America. It's all the way down to, in Mexico, all these temples, these ziggurats and these buildings were covered in soil. Oh, yeah. See, what we did, we had nothing else better to do. So we had to give the slaves something to do. So we all gave them little buckets. And they said, we go get as much soil as possible and just cover the whole ziggurat that supposedly our ancestors or somebody made. That took an immense amount of time, and it was the most beautiful thing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bury it with frickin', 2 or 3 feet foot of soil and trees. No. And they try to tell us that, by the way. I mean, with a straight face. With a straight face, they try to tell us that the indigenous population in North and Central and South America spent all this time and energy covering up all these temples with 2 to 3 feet of dirt for shits and giggles. I'm going to tell you what happened. There's something cataclysmic happened. Flood-like happened. Something in which the poles or something shifted. Something happened that caused great upheaval, which caused a huge amount of soil and deposit to go over those. And we just call them mounds. And you know what we do within North America, in America at least? Most of the Indian mounds, you know what they do? They're golf courses now. They're incorporated into golf courses. Think about that one. Let's see what's going on here. Wondrous world, look, it's right. Okay, let's see. I'm probably missing a few things. If I'm repeating, I don't mean to. I get going and I have to look at the tree. And if I look at your comments while I'm on a roll, I'll lose the flow. You know what I mean? But I'll come back. It's fascinating. I wonder what these structures. Yeah. I'm telling you, there's a huge connection with our own ancestors in the spirit realm. And this is their way of messaging to us that they're still around. And maybe to each other. And maybe they're used as portals and all that. But you know what? From my experience, some of the things that be quote unquote portal don't have any tree structures, and they're the most active ones. So I don't know. But I know one thing, our ancestors, not just in North America, but throughout the whole world, did that to trees. They did that to trees. Right? And who is to say that feral man, which none of us are, let's just think about pigs for a second, right? When pigs go feral, what happens to them? They get all hairy again. They get all hairy and the tusks start growing out and everything. And only even a generation or two, they're all hairy again. You know, people say that Bigfoot and Sasquatch are people. And you know what? They're probably right. I agree with that. The images I've seen, some look awfully human-like. And I also would argue and say that we ourselves, if we were put in this situation again, within a few generations, would look an awful lot like that. Now let's go back to Esau and Jacob in the story. And remember Esau, and he was hairy as a goat. And if you look at goat hairs, it's not like lamb's wool. And you know, it's very, very, very hairy. Extremely hairy. And the hairiest dude that you've seen images of, even the ones that have that certain supposed disease or whatever, in which they look like a wolf man or something like that, ain't nothing compared to goat's hair. But I do know one thing in this realm, and I'm saying a realm because if you think it's anything than what they've told you your whole life, I'm going to guarantee you it's not. NASA was never designed to tell you the truth. The government was never designed to tell you the truth. Your public education was never designed to tell you the truth. Your churches were never designed to tell you the truth. Television was never designed to tell you the truth. It was to keep you ensnared and in their sorcery and in their trap. To be their slaves. And Nemo, my fellow Nemos, do we want to get away? Do we want to go? Do we want to get out of this trap? I think we do. I think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us recognize there's something seriously wrong in this world, and we point the finger at people and then the Pope and, the president and all sort of stuff. But let's remember there's even more powerful forces at work. Forces at work that want to keep us stuck in a lower state. When they say we're vibrational, whatever, energetic state and all that. And then my favorite thing about the New Age stuff is that you got to be positive. Like, be positive. And just forget about everything that's going on around you and forget about the fact that you live in this dualistic system in which there's good and evil and those bad things are going to happen. Just stay. And you know what? Here's the thing, low key, when I found out. If you interact with the Lord of all spirits, you're going to start seeing more spirits. And in this gig that we're in, you're going to have good, bad, and the ugly, and there ain't no way getting around it. The best way is to figure it out is how to deal with it, and not to be delusional, and not, put your head in the sand like everyone else and say, no, I'm not going to pay attention to all this. I don't want to pay attention to what the past 3 years have done, what they've done to people. I don't want to pay attention to any of that. No, I'm just going to stay. It doesn't work. You're still in a trap. You see, to be wise, the ingredient in it to become wise, you have to be honest about everything. Not just yourself, not just what you want out of life, but what life is itself. This tree is a sacred tree in which the higher adepts and the higher, those who have in the inner circle, know exactly what this tree is about. And they spend time with that tree. And so this is that same tree in Africa, and it's the strangest looking tree there ever was. Strange as all get out. And these are like 2,000, 3,000. They was recorded up to supposedly 5,000-year-old trees. Who knows? The way people lie, and especially in the power structure, But I wanted you to see something. This is middle of nowhere in Africa. What is in that tree? Do you see what I see? A massive spirit. Now, before we go any further, you say, "Oh, Mike, that's a shadow." I want to ask you a serious question. What is casting that shadow on the trunk of that tree? And if you think it's the branches to this tree, once again, I got some oceanfront property to sell to you. So what is that shadow? With two arms reaching out and a big kind of a Bigfoot-like head. What is that shadow? Because it ain't coming from the tree. What is that shadow? I ended recording the one that didn't record with the audio a couple hours ago with this picture. And that was the question I asked. And at the end of this, I hope to remember to ask that question again. What is that shadow? Because the key to the answer to a lot of this is to ask that question when you're out there in the field, when you're out there in this world. What is that shadow? That's an entity. That's something we end up probably calling a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, right? What's in that shadow? The key to a lot of this is what I just asked. What's in that shadow? What's in that shadow? Anyways. Here we go. Okay, so let's do some of my own field investigation in my own neighborhood. So let's start. Let's see. Let's get out of there. Let's try to get over here. So, last night's recording, we talked about this one. This is my neighbor's yard. Now, these are old silver maples. I guarantee they're easily 70, 80 years old. That is a key to all this. A key to all this is the age of the trees is very important. The age of the woods, the age of the forest, the age of the soil, the age of the plants inside that. It doesn't have to be a very big piece of plot of land either. It can be something that's no more than an acre big. It could be half an acre. It could be a quarter of an acre. Talk about groves and talk about trees. And remember, we think about the trees are the neuron to this creation. that allows spirits to go from the lower or the underworld, the middle world, which we are and are a part of, the middle world, and the upper world. This upper world, or that is not the same thing as the pleroma or where God is. Okay, it's a space between the middle world and the stars, and I can guarantee you the stars are a hell of a lot closer than I told you. How do I know that? That'd be another day. Anyways, so we remember this yesterday, and we showed this, and this is, and I'm gonna move on, but it's this same picture, and here's Mr. Bigfoot, and his him popping out his head right on the tree, yay! And Mr. Bigfoot has buddy right here, by the way, and his little buddy right here too. And he's got this big old, it's like Mr. Brainiac or something. But Mr. Brainiac has a little guy sitting on top of his head because they're creating a totem pole. But don't worry about it. Because not on top of that, that also includes Mr. Bigfoot's elbow. How did you do that? Because they're spirits. Now, what's interesting is that why is it just a head they're popping out of the tree? What is it doing in a tree in the middle of the day, about 30, 35 feet, maybe around there up in the tree? And as we go on, we'll see that that's what it means. It's very high in the tree. And it's during the day. And I want to want the guys think about something when you're out there doing your research and all that. And I'm humbly am asking you to do this and think about it. Start aiming your camera up instead of always looking down at the ground. Okay. Well, thanks for being back. Thank you, Damien. By the way, everyone that's still here, hey, I'm saying hi to all of you. Judy, Sheldon, Damien, WC7. Dang, I know I missed a few other people. All you guys are in there. If you got the time, just curious, just just give me a big favor. And Leon, if you're still there, all you guys, if you're still, whoever's here, just give me a big, like a 1. Just put a 1 down. I'm here. Just say 1. Or you can go 10-4 or something like that. But anyway, just 1. So anyways, that way I know. But anyways, this thing is, or a thumbs up or something. Yeah. Thank you, Leon, for still being here. So we got this guy going on here. But you see, this guy, he's part of a bigger picture. And we have to get to that bigger picture. And then you're gonna have to give me a break because I spent all this time and energy. You might ask, Mike, why are you spending all this time doing this? Well, because it's extremely important. It's not just to me that it's important. It really is important. And it's not some religious sense or some, I'm out to try to convince people to do this. We'll see if I can find the right image. Just give me the patience here. I'd be happy to offer me a little patience. Bam. This gives you an idea. So this is the date, the time. Very important. This time of year is an excellent time, actually, to start porting your camera up and into trees. Why? Because this is the end of the year. Now, people don't realize this, but the true calendar starts in April. It's not, in January, and the end of the year is not in December. You have to go by the seasons, like everything else does, including the spirit realm, the plant world, and everybody else but us. Yeah, you might want to ask yourself, why are we the only things not following God and the Creator's calendar? What's leading up? The beginning of the year starts in the beginning of April, right? Some people say it's May. Some say, I think it's April. Some people say it's May. May 1st, somebody say. I think it's April myself, but I could be wrong. Regardless of the fact, we know it starts in the springtime, right? Things start springing back to life. And you know what happens in February? It's interesting. Most of the trees the leaves on the trees are gone, right? And they're not budding, but they're starting. The cycle of the sun. The way it's circling around us is getting closer and closer to where we are, right? So the trees are getting more energized through electromagnetism and radiation and everything else. And so these things right now you manifest quite clearly. And it's good to have a good camera, right? But if you are going to do this, remember one thing: get close to the trees. Don't be afraid of them. They're not going to bite you. They're not. The only thing that's going to happen, you want if something negative is going to happen to you, is because you're going to invite it. But it's just many people they say, in the wisdom. Here's some more wisdom. When you're out in the forest, you say, listen, I'm not here to cause you any harm. I'm not here. I'm just here to do my business or learn more about you. I do not want you to come home with me, and I don't want any of that kind of stuff. You call upon the protection of the Lord of all spirits, Heavenly Father, create all things. Really, if you want to start seeing these things and film these things, it is very important to do that. Now, whether side you are on this whole thing, whether you're on the dark side or you're on the light side, we all have to still do it. Some people are chosen to do the dark, and some people are chosen to do the light. It's all part of the creation. Now, listen, I'm not trying to tell you to do one thing or another, except that if you're going to do anything in life, then call upon the Lord of all spirits. Hear what I said. Call upon the Lord of all spirits. Should I say it again? Does anybody know what they're supposed to call him? A clap for anyone who can tell me what they're supposed to call on, because they want to see these things and be more active, or see the spirit realm, or see more of God's creation. Who are you supposed to call on? And it ain't the Ghostbusters, and it ain't your local paranormal research group, and it ain't your priest, and it ain't your bishop. We just go, Squatchabob tree. Squatchabob tree. God, the Lord. Remember, let's be careful how we say that. The Lord of all spirits, the Creator, Heavenly Father. God's a very generic term. That's the reason why they put it in that Bible 1,000 times a Sunday. You got to be specific. In this realm, you have to be specific. The Lord of all spirits, the Creator of life, or the Creator, God. You make it specific. So, the Lord of all spirits, the Creator, Heavenly Father. Because there's lowercase gods, and they'll get in the way of things. I guarantee you that. Now, this is not being religious at all. In fact, God doesn't even recognize religion. He only realizes what's in your heart. You are the temple. That's what all the adepts and even Jesus taught, right? It's not religion. Doesn't have anything to. They want you to believe that. Anyways, let's get into this. There's so many entities in here. There's so many shadows. And if you got a sign of this, you're going to be blown away. Let's talk about the horned people. The horned people are showing up today in this image. Right? I took this. This is supposed to be going to the dentist, and it should have been all drugged up after with the Novocaine and everything, and having this cavity, filled. And guess what? Didn't happen. And so they wanted me to film them. And so here's some dudes in some. In the tree. I call these guys the horn people, and they got this kind of look. I don't know if it's truly a horn or just the way they manifest. But here's a dude right here, right? You see him? You can see his big eyes, and you see his big nose, and you see his kind of his mouth. He's got this, right? And then it's going like this. And his other body has a similar thing too. But when I call them a horn, I don't really believe they have horns. I think they have other entities, smaller entities stacked on top of their heads. But there he is, right there in the crest of that tree, and he's looking at me. They're all looking at me. And by the way, they're all looking at you. And you're not getting out of this. And you can hide all day long and watch television, and you can watch all your little things, all the things that are distractions, and you ain't getting out of this. And I think that's part of the problem. That's why I think there's so many people that are stuck in the lower, the underworld and the middle world, and spirits and entities. We don't even. How many of us know what the indigenous populations throughout the world always had animals and different things that represented our spirit. characteristics. They didn't have too many of those images of human beings doing it. Remember the wild things? Where the wild things are? They call that a children's story. Oh, was that a children's story? It took me freaking 55 years to figure this out. What a story that was first saw when I was a 5-year-old. And I always liked that story. I thought it was great. And a guy in his pajamas running around in the woods and playing with these. At the time, I didn't see those monsters at all. I just thought them as like these really cool looking creatures. It was only through time and through indoctrination and brainwashing that I was told that these are all monsters. It's like everything else, isn't it? It's like black and white, right? It's like male, female. It's like straight, gay. Everything. They got to divide everything up. You see, we have to be so fragmented and so divided, so we never get close to the truth. Well, I'm revealing some truth to you. They live in the trees. Okay, Damon, you bet. My email, or if you could Facebook it or email it. You can find my email on about section in the channel or in the information box of this. So they're everywhere. And the kid was playing with them, and there was no problems. And he was playing with them in the night, in the woods. And this is what these things do at night in the woods. Are generational spirits are involved with this? Absolutely. Are other spirits involved in this? Absolutely. And they get together at night and they love the trickster spirit shows up and likes to make fun of people, especially, the Bigfoot researchers know we're going to go out there in the middle of the woods and we're going to find Bigfoot. So what they do? They start hearing stuff and freaking out, right? And they start running away or walking away from their little research area. And, they hear these footsteps and they go, well, Mike, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say, man, you don't know what it's like to go through that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I do. And until you realize what's going on, you're just being played with. Because if they ever wanted to do anything, and if they had the capacity to do anything, they probably would have ripped your head off a long time ago. And they never did any of that, did they? They just scared you out of the woods. And in the process, you said, you know what? That was Bigfoot. And they think that's funny as all get out. They think that's hilarious that you think that's Bigfoot. Did you know that? They laugh their butts off at us when we think that everything is Bigfoot. Because there's 1,000, there's tens of thousands, there's millions of other entities in the woods and spirits and in those trees. And it ain't just all Bigfoot. And many of them are our own ancestors. And they make fun of us. And we can't have these kind of conversation in the Bigfoot community, can we? Why is that? That's because the gatekeepers that are officially in charge to get paid money and get to go and do all these things. It's amazing to have all these resources and people working for them and always seem to find the right people to talk to push the same message. You know what they do? They keep telling us other things instead of telling the truth. Because the truth will set you free, as they say, and what will set you free when it comes to this topic is there are multiple spirits in the trees, including our own generational spirits in the trees, human spirits in the trees, and they are there and they go from one part of this realm to another, and the vehicle is the trees. It's the charging station too. You'll find this. We're going to see so many things here. We're going to see how it's shadows, and these shadows, and what you see them, and it's not. It doesn't. The shadow doesn't tie up with the trees and limbs and everything else. There's something else going on there. And we're going to grow up. I hope. I want to grow up at least. I think that maybe it's just the only person that really needs to grow up is me, maybe. Maybe I'm the one in the end of the day that really has the issues. Maybe I'm the only person that just never knew this stuff. But I do now. And I think it's important to share. Why? So we don't get misled once again about something else. Let's look at this thing right here. This guy, he's fascinating. He's got big old hands. Now he's got his buddy's head in there and his skull or something. He's like, hey, look at this big head. Yeah, but anyways, here's his hands. That's his elbow. I mean his wrist, his bicep. This is his tricep. This is his elbow area. This is the rest of his wrist. And then you can see his paws. And even in his paws and his hands, you can almost see he's got like nails. Okay. Then his other hand is right here. Now, I know it's blurry. You say, well, it's blurry. It's blurry. No, first, let's just ask yourself a couple of questions. There's more things going on here. Where's the shadow coming from? Remember the start of this? When we talked about the shadow? Where did the shadow come from? You want to see what's in the trees when you're filming and stuff? You need to start asking those kind of questions. Where did the shadow come from? Why do they have different, and why is it that they managed to infest these almost cartoonish like shadowy images? Notice it's sunny out too. It's a nice day. It's actually a relatively mild winter, isn't it? Maybe that geoengineering is doing some good after all, for at least for some of us. You know what? It's a warm day. It's in the 50s. I guarantee it's getting charged up. The trees are getting charged up. In a day like today, and put this in your calendar and say, well, okay, on a warm day in February is a good day to go film in the trees. Just put it in your calendar or in your brain, your own, you know what? And you'll start filming stuff. And once you know what you're filming, you're like, there he is. There's another one. Oh, by the way, here's another one too. Look at this one. I can't tell if it's a woman and she's got like a hood over her head, you know what I mean? Or if it's Bigfoot or something like that, or some other entity. But you can see right here. Here it is. That's the whiteness of the head. You can even see the eyes and the mouth if you pay attention. Or you can see, if you got to make sure with your computer too, you got to have that. You got to go into your settings and make sure that your quality that you have it at HD so you can see it good. If you're at a low setting, you're not going to be able to understand and see what you're seeing. But anyways, here's the arm, bicep. There's the hand, wrist. There's the hand. Weird thing too, if you pay attention how big the hand is. Like yesterday, we saw that one lady. She had the big feet, didn't she? And this her arm. There she is, and she's reaching out. And you say, Mike, that's just your imagination. Oh, is it? You tell me where the shadow came from. Now I can say, okay, the arm might came from there, right? And maybe the spirit's just using that. But where did the shadow come from? Where did the shadow come from? Where did the shadow come from? I cannot keep up with you guys. I've sent you. Okay, let's see. I sent you a picture from today. Okay, thanks, man. There's trident with two branches and two branch horns, and not the three type of trident. Oh yeah, cool. Cool. Mike, there used to be plenty of people on YouTube that were doing the same thing you're doing. They were all eaten alive, and that's a shame. I'm sure they were eaten alive, figuratively speaking, by the Bigfoot experts that are hirelings and gatekeepers for the government to keep things from the rest of us knowing what the hell is going on. Because the last thing they want you to know is that you know what's going on. Because you might get the crazy idea to start communicating with these things again like they do. And, you know, and I'm not saying to do that or not. I mean, I'm not telling you to do that. I don't know what to do with these things. I know that's what they do. I'm keeping my eye for the pearl great price, which is the Lord of all spirits, Heavenly Father, right? And I watch from a safe distance. The dusk is a very good time for a lot. Yes, in fact, that's where I've had my 2 major encounters. You guys hold on for a second. There's a phone call. I'm going to play something. I'll be back. I'm sorry. Let me play something. Okay, I'm back. You guys can hear me. Everybody's still left. Yeah, that was my big brother. So glad I took that call. Hopefully, he calls back later. I haven't talked to him in a while. It would have been my big brother. He's I love him to death. He's been there for me. Oh, by the way, did you notice something else? Just to show you, there's another face right here. There's the eyes. There's the nose. There's the mouth. He's got a grimacing look. And he's got a hat on. Yeah, if you can see that guy. Can you hear me, by the way? My back. Unfortunately, some people left. Something huge, big time is happening. Right? Well, probably. There's stuff happening all over the place. Yes, Judy. Kind of chilled back out, and I think if you go out with the right motive and the right intent, I don't think you have much to worry about. They may try to scare you, but they're not going to kill you. Good, thanks. We can hear you. So, anyways, there's could this be a person? Is this some kind of woman that maybe she's involved in something mysterious or occultic like, but whatever. Here we got this thing toteming up the tree, and actually got multiple of these, but the one right here you can see for sure. You can see the white in his face. There's another guy right next to him. You got a guy below him. He got a guy above him, and another guy above him. They totem. They create, and they're all in the tree. I do believe that they influence the wind and the air and the weather. And it's not just make believe. There's another guy right here too. See his eye right here, his eye right here, his nose. And there it is. He's more like a Bigfoot. I don't know. To me, I think they're right. I think that what happens is that these are people that are stuck in the matrix still, if you will, for better or worse. Like we are, by the way. We're stuck in this matrix as well. We've manifested, our spirit came in flesh form. But whether agreed upon or not, I mean, you can look more closely at this guy. You can start to see, now you can see his face now. You can see actually it's the reddish flesh tone, right? There's one eye that's, if it was daytime, you would have seen it and said that was eye shine. Of course, the tree's right there, right? And then I don't know what he's doing to this thing right here. What's interesting too is you'll understand, you'll start to see red. And I do believe the red has nothing to do with necessarily blood or anything like that. I think it has something to do with the energy that's coming out of the tree. Hey, you get back. Sorry about that last recording, Jared. You missed that gray guy half. Maybe there's so many in this. It's ridiculous. There's so many in this image. You know what I mean? I mean, the point in all this is just to reinforce that they live in the trees, and just to get okay with it and get used to it, and it's going to make a big difference in your life. Hey man, it's good seeing you, Jared. What's going on in LBL? I don't know. The guys, the other ones focusing on that, I don't know. Let's see. Confessions. There is another attack in the area. Oh, well. I like this channel. I think he's starting to come down the right path, but he's still not quite there yet, in my book. You know, one of the things is just pushing all these narratives that in these stories, and like I'm gonna, I consider her to be a mentor, whether intentional or not. M.K. Davis, you know, he's talking about a story of a gal that he talked to a guy, and they said they got film of Sasquatch, and there's a gal with them, and she ended up being kidnapped for 3 days, supposedly. And couldn't talk any English or couldn't say anything for a couple of days, whatever she went through. No, she came back alive, though. She's living somewhere in Redding, California. Northern California now. You can see this going on here too, right? Another entity there. Let's try to find some other stuff. There's so much stuff in this picture. It's ridiculous the amount of entities that are in this picture. And as I talk about this, here's a good example. This is now, Jared, you showing the moss man, or that one that was manifesting in the moss and the trees up there in British Columbia, the beautiful place. What a blessing. You guys got to check it out. Just to watch those guys marching around in those beautiful woods. We don't have those kind of beautiful woods. That wood's still right now, they still got green. That's what, what's cool about Damien's little forest that he goes to, his little patch of woods, is they still got the vines and stuff like that. And it even, it's even got the structures. And people think it's Bigfoot that's solely making it, and there's a whole bunch of other things making it. But this is a shadow that's being manifest, and it's not the trees. We can look at this, and this is fascinating. Look at this. This is the foot right here. Now, when we pay attention to this foot, we're going to actually see claws. There's a claw right here, and a claw right here, and there's another claw, and there's one right here, and then there's another one right there. But if you pay attention, there's the foot. The foot is almost like a hand too, and it's grasping onto this tree on both sides. It's his legs going up. I know it's distorted. By the way, there's other entities involved in it as well, because you see one spirit there, one spirit there, another big soul spirit. There's a good spirit. They're full of spirits. But the bigger spirit, the more powerful spirit, it's the one making the shadow of them all. And they use them all, right? And there's the head. Oh, I see his eye. I see the nose, the mouth. He's got some teeth. His beard. Now, are they all thinking about they want to destroy Michael Adams? I don't know what they're thinking. All I'm telling you is they're there. I'm just telling you they're there. You were busy working away. Yeah. Nobody heard a damn thing I said, if that's what you're talking about. Sometimes last week. Okay. Let's see. I don't know, man. Give me the evidence. Let's see the image. We see the camera, we see the footage. You know what I mean? It was coming from the officials. You mean the same officials that work for the same institutions that end up have lied to us our whole lives? So just always remember to have a question mark about anything that you hear out there. Right? Let's see what's going on here. It snowed again and got a new video out tonight. It's part of the last night's. Yeah, good. It's beautiful stuff. It's worth watching just for the beautiful stuff. And we're lucky that we even know a guy like Jared, and because we get a chance to see a part of the world that we're not part of. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff, man. It's a beautiful country. It's a lot prettier than where I'm at, that's for sure. Sasquatch Confessions. Let's see where it goes. There's a beautiful country. I'm trying to catch up with you guys a little bit here. And we're going to destroy. Yeah, and if they wanted to destroy you, they would do it in a heartbeat. They'd do it in a heartbeat. And there'd be nothing you could do about it. There's another one right here. It's another one of these heads that's tucked in between two branches. You see how deep eyes are there? You can see this crazy looking face. Just I call it crazy. That's because they're distorted, first of all, right? Remember? Their distorted face is basically because of the fact that their spirits manifesting where? On and out of the trees. And there's a guy right here. You can see him. There's the dude, there's the eye, there's an eye, here's his nose, his mouth, and his chin. And you go, well, what's so special about Michael Adams' area? There's nothing special about Michael Adams, except for one thing. I call upon the name of the Lord of all spirits. I talk to them, and they're interested in him, and so they're around. I'm not calling on them. And I tell you, I don't spend much time even like filming them or doing anything. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that. Just I don't. When it's time to film, it's time to film. When it's not, it's not. There's a million other things to think about besides these things, but they're a big part of the creation that we live in. a creation that you and I are not allowed you to talk about. And if we do talk about, we're stupid or we're childish or not or foolish. Something very interesting going on here. It's almost like another entity with some kind of almost mitre or hat like going on. You can see his big eye right there and his other eye right there. And he's got something like this. I don't think they're horns. I think he's wearing a crown. I filmed these things and they have like knights helmets on. You see the real Bigfootish one right here, right? There's an eye right here, an eye right here, there's a nose. That's kind of a cool looking image. See him? Got another entity in front of it, as always. It's really hard. They morph in and out of each other, so it's hard to tell who's who and what's what at times. But you can pretty much tell there's a guy right here, right? In fact, I would have to argue that this is his chin. He's got his hairy chin. This is his ear right here. This is his cone-shaped head right here. You can see the brow ridge. You can see the dark reset eyes. You can see the nose. He's probably got buck. A lot of my guys around here have buck teeth, which is kind of funny in a way. You guys see that? Look behind him. Gray. Okay. Hey, Damien can come on. Hey, anybody wants, I'm gonna send out an invite. Come on, come aboard. You can come aboard. If you see something, help me find it. Transparent to the right. My right or your right? This side? Going, see, that's why if you're with me, you could say, well, go this like Jared did last night. He goes, no, go this way, go that direction. And then I know. I don't even know which is your right or your left. Where else do we want to look at? It's kind of fun once you start realizing they're there. It's not like that big of a deal. As far as the scariness, you get used to it, and you're like, well, it just is what it is. Nothing's going to change except that I know now. Here's a very interesting guy right here. Wonder if some of these things even look like Lorax. So, anyways, here's this eye right here, and this is his eye right here. There he is. This is his big head. And then he's casting his shadows. He's casting his shadow, and it doesn't quite look right? But here's one arm. And you can see the hands. And what's funny about this guy, you can actually see the hand, the fingers going over the other arm. And then there's his other arm right here. Always look in the shadows. Look in the shadows. The shadows and see do they line up with what's going on with the rest of it. Notice, just pay attention to the shadows. A lot of times they just don't line up. And there's a reason for that. It's because what's here is actually an entity that's attached or is in the tree that's absorbing the energy and life force of the tree, and that's what they live off of. They don't live off, your chickens. Okay. Okay, I understand, Damien. You if you can, come in. If you can't, you can't. I'm not gonna take it personal. A couple of people sent me messages on Facebook, but I'm busy doing this teaching, so I will check it later. I promise you I will. Anyways, there's an entity right here. Okay, so you can see him manifesting right there. You can see the whiteness of his face. This is his head. He even got a little beard. There's no black shadow there. And there's a lot of things going on in this picture. Let's see what else we can do. Ryan, I know I missed like 90% of things. There's like a really impressive one somewhere. You see, is this the ghoul one, or is that a ghoul? Some look like ghouls, some look like Bigfoot, some look like human beings, some look like whatever. You know what I mean? You just you never know what you're. It's like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. This one is a very interesting one here. Now that we're starting to learn to look for what and look at the dark shadows and what they possibly might be. Well, you look at this guy, and this guy, he's hanging on this tree. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to hang on to this. Well, of course, first of all, I'll show you this one that I showed. It's in the video of this guy right here. Looks like a dog man. You can see his eye here and his eye here, and he's got the long muzzle in the mouth and the chin. He's got something going on here. Something like, I think it's his hand, to be honest with you. I think that's his thumb right here. And this is his hand. What they do, a lot of times they put their hands over their face. I don't know if it's because they go, oh crap, I got caught, or they just like, they just do it because of habit, because it's the way to hide. But as you go up this tree and the totems and all these different spirits, we keep going. You can see that this is actual. Okay, this is a hand. This is his wrist. This is his lower arm right there. This is his upper arm. Where is he going? Well, he's got a long arm. Yes, here he is. There he is. There's his eye. There's his eye. There's his mouth and his chin. There's his head. Meanwhile, at the same time, there's a big sucker right here, right? Like Big Papa or something. And Big Papa, you can see he's manifesting white. But maybe it's not even that. I got it. So here's his head. He's got his arm right here. That would be his right arm. Be on your left side. Now his left arm is up here. This is his left elbow, and this is his left hand and his wrist. So you can see him. You see how he's like he's holding something right here, right? Which he is. But you can see how he's holding on to dear life, maybe to the tree itself. But that's his arm. And I'm not just making up. So that's his head. And I know it's not perfect. Remember, these are spirits. So you have to think in more lines of what they are. And this is his funky left hand with his fingers. Furry fingers. Furry fingers like a goat. Like Esau. That's right. They didn't want to tell you the truth. They wanted you to believe it was just some silly little story about some silly little conniving scheme of Mama and Jacob's mama and Jacob, and oh yeah, let's fool Mom, Daddy, and let's take the birthright away from Sasquatch. So there you go. You got another one right there. You see the elbow and the hand. There's his head, and he's hugging onto this thing, and then it goes on. If you're paying attention, you'll see feet, you'll see hands. In the shadows, you'll see heads. It's important stuff, really, when you think about it, because these things eventually, they call them shadow beings, right? Or they say shadow people, or this or that. You notice how many times that a Bigfoot looks like a shadow? We can go back and look at Jared's stuff real fast. In his Bigfoot, or not Bigfoot, his Dogman that he filmed, and he didn't see it. Camera did. And the thing's pretty much jet black. You pay real close attention, you can see that his ears right here and his ear right here. You can see that's his hand up in there. and you can see in this his hand, and it's like he's like a little guy, and he's like looking at the bigger guys, but you're not seeing in this picture, and he's going, what do we do? What are you guys doing right there? What are you doing in that freaking root ball in the end of that tree? Put this phone over there. Look, they're gonna find us. What's going on? Don't leave me here. Don't leave me at this tree. How's come you guys are over in that tree? You see what I'm getting at? And then let's think about the Lorax. Let's think about where the wild things are. Let's think. Let's think. Okay. Maybe in a bit I'll get to that. I'll try to. Okay. I'll take a break, and it's just, of course, it's got to be another 2-3 hour teaching. It wasn't my intention, but let's go on. Yo, that's a very interesting. Wazink Billa. Yo, what does that mean, man? What kind of name is that, man? Billa. Wazink Billa. Where's that come from? What kind of name is that, dude? So, anyways, shadow beings. So that's what he couldn't see it, didn't feel it. Maybe he felt it. I don't know. If you're still there, Jared, did you sense that they were in front of you? Because you definitely didn't see it, and you didn't hear it. Yet it was feet away from him, probably what 20, 30 feet away from him, maybe something like that, maybe 40 feet. I don't know, not too far. And there he is. And he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Oh, okay. Well, stick around and you'll find out. Okay, buddy. Welcome aboard. This is advanced teaching. This is advanced teaching for people who are at I would say a master's degree level of understanding what's really going on. So if you're not there, man, you just figure out where you're at. Not to be disrespectful, but I'm not going back just to explain it to you. You know what I mean? You're more than welcome to jump on. There's an invite in the comment section, chat section. More than welcome to come aboard and talk. If you got any questions, I'm more willing to answer. But as far as texting the questions, I ain't going to play with that. Not going to play with that. You know why it is? Because it's so easy to text something and be misunderstood. Not going to do that. So there's another very interesting entity here. Now that we know about hands and arms, and that they create this very dark shadows, and dark and out of place shadows, we can start to see what's going on here. Now look at this. This is an arm. This is an arm. This is an arm under here. And there's multiple hands because there's multiple entities reaching out here. But this one right here is very interesting. You look at this, and here's the fingers. And there's the other fingers right there. So he's grabbing onto this. But here's the big fella's head. Now, why are they grabbing on? I have a theory about this, why they grab onto this wood and all that. I think the more that they spread out, right, and the more that they grab, the more trees that they grab, the more energy they receive. Does that make sense? So what they're doing is they're reaching out all these places and other trees and all that. And not to be scary or anything like that. What they're doing is they're recharging. Trees are like a gas station, if you're a recharging center for them, right? So that if at some point when they have enough of a charge, they can come out of the tree at night. You'll see these images. There's video out there. You'll see of them, and like these shadows, these ghostly looking figures, things that kind of look like Bigfoot, that just magically just fly up into the tree or pop out of the tree, right? Because that's what they're doing. All right. Once you come to terms with this and you can accept this, it changes the whole picture. And you realize now you don't have to play anybody else's games, and you can just start pursuing the truth again. But as long as you're, wanting things to be other than they really are, if you're insisting that it's got to be your way or else, or what somebody with a PhD said, then you know what? We're going to constantly have problems. Now, our ancestors told us about this, but we just never listened. We could care less, right? We were too busy in our own little fantasy. Actually, it wasn't even our own little fantasy world. It was a fantasy world that was given to us in a plastic platter and via the television, the internet, public school system, religion, and everything else out there. And so, the truth of the matter is, most of us don't even know how to use our imagination anymore. And not to be mean, I mean, because I'm just in the same boat. I struggle with it myself. Interesting here how that creates that, the star shape, the 6-pointed star right there too. Interesting. And so I wonder if that has something to do with that portal opening up there that I saw back in June of last year. You can see the multiple entities just crawling up this tree. Not crawling up the tree. They're just there. They're just absorbing. This is interesting. Okay, who else is left? Oh, here's nice. This is a funny one. Okay, here's a guy right here. So he's got his right eye. This is his white face. Okay. And what's going on here? There's multiple things. So first of all, another guy's hand is on top of his head, right? You'll see that their fingers are actually. Okay, there's fingers, and you know how their hands and they're all furry, right? Like a goat's fur. So what they do is so he's got his hand over his head. All right, and that's what they do. I think if there was a while when I thought that they were actually doing that to hide from us, but I think they try to steal from each other's energy. It changes everything. Thank you. Yeah, have a positive side of things. Let's see what this guy has to say. Doesn't some visual trigger our imagination to make us speculate and fantasize, and all that time we need is to segregate imagination from reality? Yeah. Well, stop watching television. Stop listening to everybody else's stuff and go out in the real world again. Go spend some time with the trees. If you're not, go spend go spend some time with the trees. Go spend some time with the nature for real. I'm not talking about tromping around in the woods. I argue that there is probably 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000 actually spend any time staring at a tree. I mean, try to discipline yourself to stare at a tree for once. Just focus on a tree. Find a tree. Find the coolest tree in your neighborhood, in your town. Maybe a big old oak tree or whatever, and go and just focus at it and the limbs. And try to keep your eyes trained on it. And you're going to find out how absolutely struggling it is. You'll be lucky to stare at that one spot for 5 seconds. Yet our ancestors spent not 5 seconds staring at a tree in a certain spot. They spent hours upon hours of doing it. We have lost reality. Do we also get a charge of energy from certain trees? Yes. We just got through talking about that one, right? A very sacred tree, the pawpaw. A very sacred, 5,000-year-old tree where people go for miles and spend time just to pray under it, to touch it. Yeah, well, instead of this is what you do. Don't ask me this. Ask that to yourself, Wesset. And you say, what am I going to do to determine whether or not a guy like Michael Adams is speaking the truth? Instead of having just a silly little conversation on chat, why don't you go out and find out for yourself? Go learn to trust your eyes. Yeah, it's going to take time. But you can do it, man. You can do it. And then you're going to have to decide what you need. Okay, yeah, bring out there you go, the poet. And here's the thing. So I'm going to leave that link in case you're really interested in communicating with me. And you're probably not, but if you are, I understand if you're not. You come aboard and talk. That way, you see, the problem is when you text stuff like that, no one knows exactly where you're coming from. They just don't. I don't know. How do I know where you're coming from? You could be the coolest dude there ever was, or you could be the biggest jerk there ever was. I have no idea. But come aboard, let's talk. I asked because I spent my childhood outside, but moreover, I climbed my favorite scrub oak, and yeah, and read my books there. Yeah. And by the way, when you're reading your books there, something else is reading it with you. Now you know. That's how it was for me too. A tree forts everywhere as a kid growing up, and fell out of a tree once or twice. Sometimes I wonder if there was a trickster spirit that pushed me out of that tree fort. They can do stuff like that. So where are we at now? So we've seen this shadow. I think it's fun. Once you realize what's going on, once you can see what's going on, you're like, wow, they're everywhere. And no, they're not all Bigfoot. No, they're not all Sasquatch. Hell, when we first started this show, what did we see? A bishop with a mitre on his head. We can see more of a totem created coming up. The spirits. I truly believe this is where they get their idea for totems. And you can see the guy's eye right here, his nose, and there's another guy with. So that was crazy. And that shadow is a totem. We see feet or hands. So we need to find out whose that might be. Maybe we have luck. So you guys want to talk about? If you pay attention to what's going on here, there's fingers. And this is the back of his hand, his wrist. And he's reaching out. Where would he be? In this mess of spirits, I'm not quite sure whose hand is whose. Unless the big guy really is this right here on top. Well, you can see eyes right here, right? And you can see another face right here. And there's a face in the middle. And some look like a Bigfoot, some look like aliens. You see their spirit right there in the branches. Is it this guy right here? You can see the eyes and the face in the plane. I'm not sure. It is such a blob of spirits. But you can see there's a hand. You got two hands. So this is the other arm right here. And this is where his hand goes. Got a furry hand, like a Bigfoot would have. And then the other one right here. And this is his foot. There's more than one. Anyways, that's very interesting. How do you convince a person like that? Where do we go for this now? I want to stay here a little bit longer in this picture. And because it's an important picture. It represents a ton of what's really going on in the trees. And it shows what is the most important ingredients here. Time of year, size of the tree. There's a guy right here. Let's see where he's at. I think that might be his hand. And this might be his head. He might be giving us a profile. Or is that his arm? Oh, that might be his arm. That might be an arm right there. And the hand. And this is the hairy part of the back of the arm. Oh. Anyways, let's go look at one more thing to remind ourselves that they're human beings in this. We'll look at the Bigfoot one more time. And while I look for that picture, Bigfoot staring at us, Bigfoot head staring at us. And where do we go with all this? Where do we go? There's a shadow entity right there that I filmed, but we'll move on. A perfect example. This is a man of light. He films a Bigfoot. Notice the Bigfoot and how long it's almost like it's like a silver cord to these things. They have to be somehow, some way connected to these trees. You ever notice they're really close to trees? Now, I know there's been images and footage of this otherwise, but most of the images I find, they all have to be close to the trees. Notice it looks like it might be his arm, but no, there it is. It's all blurry, right? And this is that spirit, that Bigfoot that was coming after him, he said. Is that the only image you got? Maybe it's the only one I took. It's his video. I put it in my video. But notice he's black, as blacker than night. You notice there's a long thing like it's extending off a log. Off a log. Oh. Sheldon explained to him what come aboard means. If he's still around. It starts staring back. So interesting. And I just want to hear what I have to say here. Notice there's this long, like black umbilical cord connected to it. It looks like it's a log or something, and maybe it is, and maybe it is. They need to be connected to this big old tree right here in order to manifest. That's my point. Also notice the railroad tracks, and when there's railroad tracks like this with trees, because of the metal and the static electricity is created by trains being on it, and the amount of the type of rocks that they use for the base of the tracks, it creates a very much a lot of static electricity and energy. Then you combine it with the trees. And you just funny right here. There's a big one right here too. Anyways. We'll go here. We'll just remind this. So once again, we have these entities, and some are very human-like. It's shadows, right? And you guys seen this? There's so many images I have. I could spend all day, every day, just showing you images and talking. And I'm going to tell you something. I put as minimal amount of effort into this. I really do. I really do put a minimum amount of effort as far as going out there and filming things. And it's not because I'm better than anybody else. I already know what's going to happen, and there's no point in spending all the energy time. I mean, I could be bombarded all day long with images, literally, and then I still got to see other people's images. Then I got my own images. You know what I mean? Which actually, I don't really believe they're my images. They're images that they allowed me to see on the camera. But anyways, information here. Notice the red here, the red that's emitting off this tree. This is the I believe it to be the EMF. There's electromagnetic frequencies coming out of it, right? That allow these things, and these things are using the life force and the energy of the trees to generate themselves, to regenerate themselves, to revitalize themselves. To just think of it this way: they love sunbathing just like we do. Right? And they want to sunbathe. Why do they want to sunbathe? To energize themselves. So this is the guy's hand again. He's sitting down. It is the other hand right here, by the way. And then he's sitting down here, kind of cross-legged. And this is upright. You can see this is his mouth, his head, his nose, and that. By the way, he's got like a sister or a girlfriend under him. Also, he also has an entity on top of his head too. But anyways, if you see that this is his eye, This is his nose. You can even see the nostril he has. This is his. What's weird about them is how many times you see the teeth. Yeah, shadow beans. Maybe that's what it is. Shadow beans. People should stick around. Really should. Yeah, I mean, you can literally see the teeth on this thing. You see the teeth? Like the jaw of this being. You can see the nose. You can see the nose, right? The pointed nose. He's got a pointed nose like a human being. And this darkness of his eyes. There's his eyebrow. This is eyelash. This is eyebrow. It's top of his head, and then he's got like an entity on top of him, and he's got all this because they stack up. Pay attention. You notice how red it is. Now this is I believe this is just another it's silver maple is what it is, and they're not budding yet. Although it looks like they're budding, they're not budding yet. So this is to 20th of February, so they're not budding yet. It's not been warm enough for them to start budding up. Yeah, so it's using energy, right? So this is his girlfriend. Her girlfriend has this. Okay, so there's this woman here. She's got a cape and a hoodie on her head, right? And she's looking towards the guy. At the back of her, she's got this Bigfoot head, and then there's another head on top of her head. But this is the girlfriend, right? You can see the eyes, the eyebrow, the nose. She looks like an old hag. She's missing her teeth, right? And she's got long hair, and you see that. I know you guys saw it last night if you're paying attention, and we're going to talk. We're probably going to end it here because I don't know if I even accomplished half what I needed to accomplish. Maybe if you guys want, anybody here, if you think you're interested, like Judy or anybody else, Sheldon, it's 5:20. I can come back like in 4 or 5 hours and do another live. Do you guys want me to do another live? Because I'll be more than happy to do another live and talk more about this, show images. I need to take a break. So tell me what you guys think. If you'd like me to come back tonight and we'll say 10 o'clock, because it's Tuesday and I don't know what else is going on. If you want me to come back live, let me know. And if you're indifferent, don't let me know. And then we'll go from there. But anyways, this is the woman's face. She almost got like an Asian or an old lady's face. Of course, these are spirits and they're stuck. I see a lot of these are stuck in these trees. They're stuck in the middle and the lower earth. And they're probably stuck. I'm not sure, it's easy to say that they're all committed some kind of terrible sin or they rejected Jesus and all this other stuff, right? But I don't think it's fair for us to actually say that because I don't think we really know what's going on. And I've listened to a lot of people that claim to be priests and vicars, and yes, you see her, right? She's looking right at you. She's not looking at you. She's looking out, is what I should say. So there's the eyebrow. There's her nose. She's got the big mouth here, but she got no teeth. She's got a pointy chin. Now, mind you, they all look cartoonish like, right? Because they're in the plasmic form and not in the physical form. And therefore, they're not going to look quite right. But you can see her long hair, her all curly hair. And if you're a woman, anybody has been around. All of us know of a woman with long hair. And say she put it in a ponytail, right? Or a bun or I don't know. You can see the part actually. That's her hair. This is her ear. This is her chin. This is her neck. She's got some kind of tight outfit on. You can see that it's almost like lizard skin or something. I don't know. It's all pointed out. Who knows what the hell it is? It looks more like that. Maybe it's just probably, that's a good question to ask. We pay attention to this and we see the emissions of what's coming out of her, right? we notice that there's a distortion going on in this branch right here with all the dots, right? There's a distortion. There's distortion going on. You can actually see an energetic distortion coming on. So is this an example of some form of plasma? You notice that. You can see that how it starts to really take over the picture, right? This is not pareidolia, by the way. It's not pareidolia. Okay, talk to you later, T. I'm about ready to be done as well. It's been 2 hours of this. So just look at that for a second and think about what I'm saying. What is being emitted off of her? And always remember one thing. Always. How's it going, buddy? Brandon, I'm just about to end. A little late. Mark has a picture like this one on his page. Does he? I don't remember that. Send me if you remember. You're talking about big Colorado Bigfoot. I don't remember that. He's got all sorts of things. I don't understand why he says everything's Sasquatch, but it's clearly not the case, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to our brother, Mark. I appreciate him and his hard work. I truly do. He's the one that's really helped bring out the importance of those tree structures. I just don't believe they're all Bigfoot. At this point, I don't see any evidence that Bigfoot actually made all those tree structures. That we're dealing with interdimensional spirits. Just you notice the waviness, the spottiness all the way through there. You can see the emissions, the energy that's producing in this branch or the trunk. You see another face right there manifesting. It's really interesting. Over her. It's almost like he has it's almost like a king's crown or another one of these miters. You see that? This reverse. You see that? And you see him right there. There's his two eyes and his nose and his mouth. And he's over above her. I wouldn't be surprised that's his arm right there going up. But there's this immense amount of energy that's being emitted off that tree. I wonder that's what people say. That's what they feel when they feel that, that sense of doom or at the presence of spirits. Are we feeling this energetic, like an EMF emission coming off these spirits? And you can see the block. I mean, if I were to tweak this, I bet you I could get this circle to manifest, and it's not part of the camera. You can see what's going on here. It's an emission of something, some sort of not only light, but EMF frequency, some sort of energy that's emitting off of her that makes it possible to see her face and her shadow, and these guys' shadows for that matter. And here we go again, the red that's going through the trees, right? And no, they're not all demons. I do believe there's something going on here that's much deeper, that's been hidden from us and our Christian faith and the Christian leaders, because they either don't know what they're talking about, but at the very top, I think what they're doing is hiding the fact that there is a lot of spiritual. There's the trees are the highway. The trees are the highway to the three levels of this creation that we live and call the earth. The tree itself, it represents the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world. And it's not hell. And it's not, no matter what. And they twisted that teaching of Jesus as well. And this is the middle world, and this is the upper world. It represents the ethereal realm, or the upper heaven. All right. So the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. You see the moon cycles that govern it. And this is when they're manifest, and where they do a lot of their activity is not during the day, it's in the night. The moon rules half of this realm. The sun rules the other half of this realm. You and I, every one of us, whether you want to call yourself a Christian or not, we're all children of the light. How do we say that? How do I know that? Because none of us can function without sunlight or artificial light. We couldn't function in the darkness. Now, these things, they can function in the darkness. Hence the reason why they're making these ancestral constructions, buildings, right, of teepee structures, neck structures, and tree lanes, and etc. Right, and part of it, I'm sure, is to signal each other, but I think also it's possible to remind us of our past. We're just too damn blind to see what's really going on. And then remember the cycle, the Venus, and actually the woman's cycle is more in line with the phases of Venus than it is the moon. And the true year is supposed to have 13 months, not 12 months. And the true year is supposed to start in April, not in January. Notice the clouds, they're all round balls. Like portals, like orbs, like the planets and the stars, which are not what anything they said they are. Nothing. Notice the two lights and how they also kind of represent eye shine, right? People say they see eye shine all the time. Well, it's because these ethereal beings, these ultra-dimensional beings, when they come out of the trees and are when they interact with people in the woods around us, they will do things like emit different colored eye shine or make it look like an orb. Because the orbs live in the trees as well, right? And the orbs are like little capsules full of spirits. And somehow these things, they increase and shrink in size. I'm not making this up. That's right, Bigfoot can shrink in size and become the size of an orb. That's something to think about. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to take a break. Hopefully I can talk to my brother in an hour after I take a nap, and he'll call me. And it's good to hear from him. He's in California. He's actually seen Sasquatch in Northern California, him and his wife.